látòrí ẹ̀rọ alátagbà ayélujára ti Facebook tó fi ń wọ YouTube tó fi ń wọ rédíò répa òun náà la wà lórí ẹ̀. Kí wa la fẹ́ gbéyẹ̀wò, kí la fẹ́ bára wa sọ lónìí tó ṣe kókó tó ṣe pàtàkì. Òun náà ni tí eléèbó ń pè ní depression. Bá a bá wò ó láti bí ọjọ́ bíi mélòó, bó bá gbọ́ ẹ gbọ́ pé eléyìí kàn fò ṣánlẹ̀ ó kú, bẹ́ẹ̀ bá gbọ́ ẹ gbọ́ pé eléyìí sùn kò jí. Ẹlòmíì á kàn déédéé mí kanlẹ̀, ẹ wàá máa béèrè pé kí ló dé. The times are pretty tough for everyone. Pretty tough. A lot of people are really going through a lot. Apart from the economy, ẹ bá bínú miss code láṣẹlẹ̀ ní nítorí ọ̀pọ̀lọpọ̀ àwọn èèyàn náà wà lórí Facebook tí wọ́n darapọ̀ mọ́ wa tí wọ́n fẹ́ máa bá a lọ lórí ètò yìí from across the globe. Bẹ́ẹ̀ mi ṣe ń bá yín sọ̀rọ̀ yìí, I am in kí la ti pè bí ìyá àbẹ̀fà Richmond àbí I'm in Richmond, Virginia, in the United States of America. So a lot of people are also following us from across the globe. Nítorí àti polówó ẹ̀ lórí ẹ̀rọ ayélujára, àwa lórí Facebook. So ẹ lè tẹ̀lé wa lórí Facebook, Ambrose Olutayo Shomide, Ambrose Olutayo Shomide. Ó bá lè jẹ́ orí YouTube náà ni Ambrose Shomide lẹ́ẹ̀tì bambe àbíkẹ́ lọ sí Smiles Radio ẹ̀rì. Yàtọ̀ sí economy that has dealt a lot of blows and affected a lot of people worldwide. People's income have, in some cases, ought reduced. The standard of living affected. People are suffering a lot. And people's mental health have also been affected. COVID-19, tó fi wọ COVID-20, tá a rí ràlẹ̀ ń COVID-21, tó ṣì ń bá àgbáyé pọ̀ ní COVID-22, pẹ̀lú gbogbo complications ẹ̀, all the health issues tó bá wá, gbogbo ẹ̀ náà ni gbogbo àti rí la mọ̀. Many do not have resources to seek Medicare, and most of the time they resort to self-help. Many don't even want to discuss their issues. Wọ́n kàn ń fà á mọ́ra. Àìmọye olórí ilé tó jẹ́ breadwinners ló dàbí ẹni pé ipa ò gbé mọ́. Àìmọye breadwinners ló ti kú ni wọ́n ti lọ. Tí ẹrù ẹni méjì wá di ẹrù ẹnìkan. Àìmọye tó tiẹ̀ wà tí wọn ò já mọ́ nǹkan kan nítorí agbára kò sí. Àwọn èèyàn mọ ẹni tí wọ́n lè bá sọ̀rọ̀, wọn ò mọ ibi tí wọ́n lè lọ. Wọ́n kàn ń dàgbé, wọ́n ń dàfà ni. They don't know who to trust. It is a lonely and cold life out there. Many have had issues of bereavement. Their breadwinners gone, their support system gone, leaving them with loads to carry. Many have lost their jobs and have become less of what they were to the family. Some are just surviving. Some are just rolling, living. Kí ló àwọn ń pè ní depression yìí gan? Kí ló dé táwọn èèyàn kì í fẹ́ láwọn tí wọn kì í fẹ́ sọ̀rọ̀? Ṣé obìnrin ló pọ̀ fún àbí ọkùnrin? Báwo lè èèyàn ṣe lè rìn nígbà tí wàhálà ò bá dé? Is it only related to losses and bereavement? Is depression hereditary? Are women more prone to depression? Is depression related to mood swing? Ẹ kàn rí lé dẹ́lòmíì. Àárọ̀ yóò máa rẹ́rìn inú ẹ̀ yóò máa dùn, ó máa dọ̀wọ́ alẹ́ báyìí. Ẹ kàn wá pé kí ló tún ṣẹlẹ̀ sárábìnrin yóò kàn dì ní. Gbogbo ẹ̀ náà òun la fẹ́ yẹ̀wò ní ìrọ̀lẹ́. Mo sọ ẹ ní bínú ẹ̀yin ti fàájì. A mix ẹni. Ẹ mọ̀ bá ṣe máa ń ṣe nítorí ọ̀pọ̀ àwọn èèyàn wa tí wọ́n ń gbọ́ wa jákèjádò àgbáńlá ayé náà kì í ṣe pọ̀lọpọ̀lọ wọn ló gbọ́ Yorùbá. A mix ẹ̀. Àti wá ní àwọn èèyàn lórí ìlà arábìnrin kan wà tó ṣe pé àwọn náà she went through a bereavement tí ẹrù ẹni méjì di ẹrù ẹnìkan pàápàá àwọn tí ọkọ wọn tí wọ́n kọ̀ọ̀kan tí wọ́n ṣíwọ́ ọṣẹ́ báwo ni wọ́n ṣe rìn báwo ni wọ́n ṣe ń cope that low moment báwo ni wọ́n ṣe ṣe we share that experience and we have a medical doctor who is also joining us agbìyànjú pé kí bóyá Dr. Amosu náà bí àwọn náà ṣì lè parapọ̀ mọ́ wa consultant èdè tó ní ṣe pẹ̀lú àrùn ọkàn àtàrùn ọpọlọ psychiatrist ni wọ́n lérò pé àwọn náà a bá wọn sọ̀rọ̀ lánàá wọn ní àwọn ó tiẹ̀ jẹ́ pé àwọn máa busy o àwọn á bá wa sọ̀rọ̀ ẹni oore ọ̀fẹ́ àti àǹfààní láti béèrè ìbéèrè àbí láti dá sí i kó tá a máa ṣe ni pé nítorí ọ̀nà tèmi jìn WhatsApp nìkan ni ẹ lè fi bá mi sọ̀rọ̀ nọ́mbà tí ẹ fi bá mi sọ̀rọ̀ ẹ jẹ́ ń sọ òun náà ni 07082523048 82523048 àbí lórí Facebook ẹ lè lọ síbẹ̀ kẹ́ fi ìbéèrè tí a bá fẹ́ béèrè síbẹ̀ ó wà níwájú mi ń bí màá máa wò ó kí n lè máa kà á. lórí ìlà àti ní oníṣègùn òyìnbó dókítà Jẹ̀dídá Ẹlẹ́mìdé mo kí yín o dókítà.
ẹ kúrọ̀lẹ́ olóòtú.
ẹ jẹ́ ká ṣe báyìí kí ni tí à ń pè ní depression tó kọ Yorùbá wà fún kí ló ń bí kí ló ń fà.
ẹ kúrọ̀lẹ́.
hello doc.
ẹ kúrọ̀lẹ́ olóòtú ṣé ẹ gbọ́ mi ké.
à ń gbọ́ yín dáadáa.
ok so tá bá ń sọ̀rọ̀ nípa depression ọ̀pọ̀lọpọ̀ ìgbà oríṣiríṣi nǹkan kan ló máa ń wá sí ọkàn àwọn èèyàn. lóòótọ́ àwọn èèyàn ti máa ń ní àwọn ìgbàgbọ́ they have their some different myths and beliefs as regards depression and ó máa ń jẹ́ kí àwọn èèyàn máa sá fún ìrànlọ́wọ́ àbí kó máa sá láti sọ̀rọ̀ síta. lóòótọ́ ó jẹ́ nǹkan tó affect ọpọlọ I mean it's a mental disorder. But the truth of the matter is, it is very common. We have about 350 million people worldwide that are suffering from depression. So, bó ń ṣèyàn kan àbí kò ṣèyàn míì kì í ṣe nǹkan tí ojú ò rí rí àbí tí ò gbọ́ rí. Ó dẹ̀ máa ń túbọ̀ jẹyọ ní pé àwọn ìwà kọ̀ọ̀kan pé irú èèyàn bẹ́ẹ̀ yẹn ẹ̀ rí pé ó máa sá fún àwọn nǹkan tó máa ń gbádùn láti ṣe tẹ́lẹ̀. That is, there's a loss of interest in pleasurable moments and event. Then, irú èèyàn bẹ́ẹ̀ ó máa ń dùn èèyàn yẹn bí kí èèyàn bá kú fún yàn. A máa wò pé ṣé kóun bá ti tọ́jú ẹni yìí dáadáa, ṣẹ́ni yẹn ò bá kú. Pàápàá jùlọ, ẹni òun náà lè máa rọrùn sùn. Oúnjẹ jíjẹ ó lè jẹ́ ìṣòro. Ẹni náà ò ní lè ṣe àwọn iṣẹ́ tí ó máa ń ṣe. Just imagine if the person is a teacher, the person cannot concentrate and teach well. So kí gbogbo àwọn kinní yìí bá ń parapọ̀, tí olóyìnbó bá dẹ̀ ti ń wò àwọn oníṣègùn wá wò pé okay, dájúdájú this person is suffering from depression. Nǹkan tí a lè pè ní depression nìyẹn, ká ní ká tú palẹ̀.
Depression yìí ṣé ẹni tí ó ń go through depression ẹ má bínú bàbá ń sọ ní òyìnbó ṣé ó lè dára ẹ̀ ó lè mọ̀ nítorí àmọ̀ pé nígbà lómi tẹ́lómi bá ń ronú wá dọ́dọ̀ ẹ̀yin dókítà ẹ má béèrè pé kí ló ń rò á ní òun kò ń rò nǹkan kan báwa tí a ṣe oníṣègùn òyìnbó bàbá rẹ lómi bàbá béèrè pé ojú ẹ̀ yìí ṣe bákan bákan kí ló ń rò arábìnrin á ní òun ò rò nǹkan kan òun rò anything òun wà okay ṣé ẹni tí ó ń ronú àbí tó ń go through depression ṣó ń gan fúnra ẹ̀ lè mọ̀.
Ṣe rí ní ọ̀pọ̀ ìgbà a máa ń pè nǹkan kan ní insight bí pé kí nǹkan bá ń ṣèyàn kéèyàn lè mọ̀ pé nǹkan báyìí ló ń ṣe mí kó dẹ̀ lè gbà pé yes nǹkan yìí ló ń ṣe mí. Ní ọ̀pọ̀ ìgbà àwa èèyàn à ń really gbà pé ok nǹkan báyìí ló ń ṣe mí. Lóòótọ́ wàá mọ̀ pé mi ò lè jẹun, mi ò lè sùn, but ó ṣòro fún èèyàn tí ò nímọ̀ ìjìnlẹ̀ láti lè dá sọ pé yes I am going through a depressive phase. Nǹkan tó ṣẹlẹ̀ ní ọ̀rọ̀ yẹn nìyẹn olóòtú.
Okay, so fún àwa tí a bá súnmọ́ èèyàn bóyá tí ó ṣẹ̀ṣẹ̀ bí ó ṣẹ̀ṣẹ̀ lose iṣẹ́ ni o àbí èèyàn kan kú fún ẹni tó jẹ́ pé ó ṣe kókó tó súnmọ́ bí ọkọ bí ìyàwó àbí bí ọmọ tó kú, kí làwọn nǹkan tẹ̀yìn olóyìnbó ń pè ní symptoms tó jẹ́ pé àwa tá a súnmọ́ yẹn la gbọ́dọ̀ máa wò? Nítorí ẹ ti sọ nísìnyí pé kíní yẹn ó fẹ́ súnmọ́ àrùn ọpọlọ díẹ̀ pé wọ́n fara pẹ́ra wọn.
Mo fẹ́ kí nǹkan kan yé wa dájú that there is a very thin line between pé kéèyàn bá ń ṣe ọ̀fọ̀ àti kéèyàn wà depressed. That is, there's a difference between being grieved or bereaved and when you enter into a depressive phase. So kí èèyàn bá kú fún yàn, it is very normal kí mood ẹni yẹn wálẹ̀. It is very normal kẹ́ni yẹn má lè ṣiṣẹ́, kẹ́ni yẹn má lè jẹun. Kó bá ti ń dé level tó yẹ pé ó ti ń pẹ́ jù one, then ó ti ń dé level tó yẹ pé ẹni yẹn ti ń consider pé bóyá òun fẹ́ para òun or not. Ta dẹ̀ ti ń wò pé ẹni yìí kò tí get through phase yẹn, then the next step will be to seek help. Because kí a bá wo dájúdájú ẹni tí èèyàn kú fún ó máa dùn lóòótọ́, kò sẹ́ni tó kú fún yàn, even kéèyàn ní bàbá 100 tó kú ó máa dùn yàn, kò sẹ́ni tó fẹ́ kí ẹbí ẹ̀ àbí ọ̀rẹ́ ẹ̀ kú. But kí gbogbo kíní yìí bá ṣẹlẹ̀, it is a phase that you will pass through that grieving period. But when it becomes a problem and it is so hard to overcome that grieving period, then you begin to move into depression.
Okay, so kò síbi téèyàn lè gbá break bí ọkọ̀ tó ń jábọ̀ látòrí òkè tó ń lọ, kò sí break téèyàn lè gbé sí tó bá mọ̀ pé òun ti ń slip into depression. Kidney nǹkan tó lè ṣe tó bá yẹ pé ó ti realize ẹ̀ àbáwọn tó súnmọ́ tí wọ́n realize kí ni ìgbésẹ̀ tó lè sáré gbé pé kẹ́ni tó drift into kíní completely, ìgbésẹ̀ báyìí ó yẹ ká tètè gbé.
Irú èèyàn bẹ́ẹ̀ yẹn ta realize pé ẹni yìí ti ń wọ irú phase bẹ́ẹ̀ yẹn, Yorùbá as the culture would presume, a máa ń ṣe àwọn kankan ìgbà yẹn ló máa ní wọ́n lọ ń bá ẹni yẹn ṣọ̀fọ̀, wọ́n bá try àti bá ẹni yẹn ṣeré, wọ́n try àti bá ẹni yẹn sọ̀rọ̀. You try to encourage the person, you try to admonish the person, then you try to be there for the person. Ìgbà míì ẹni yẹn á kàn máa sunkún, ẹ fílẹ̀ ẹ jẹ́ kó sunkún. Ìgbà míì á máa sọ oríṣiríṣi. You allow the person talk, you allow them express themselves. Now, if you have tried all this for over time and it is not working, the next advice will be to go to a hospital. Ní láti sọ fún ẹni yẹn pé àrùn ọpọlọ ń ṣe. Bó jẹ́ ẹ sọ fún pé ẹ fẹ́ lọ ṣe check up ni, àbí ẹ sọ fún pé ẹ fẹ́ lọ ṣe nǹkan kan ni, ẹ kàn ṣáà mú lọ sí hospital kan rí. Bóyá kó má tún bá ẹlòmíì sọ̀rọ̀, tó tún ṣàlàyé fún, tó tún rí àwọn ẹlòmíì tó rú nǹkan báyẹn ti ṣe rí, tó dẹ̀ sọ bí àwọn ṣe overcome gbogbo àwọn kinní yẹn, maybe the person will get better. Then oftentimes ó máa ń jẹ́ kí àwọn èèyàn máa ń ní ìgbàgbọ́ pé kéèyàn bá wà depressed ó máa lo oògùn for life ni àbí ó ti ya wèrè. Ó jìnnà sí pé kí èèyàn ya wèrè. It is a phase that can complicate being bereaved. So as much as possible, one thing that we should avoid is stigmatization. A gbọ́dọ̀ ní láti pínyà fún pé ká máa sọ pé ẹni yẹn ti ní àrùn ọpọlọ o, kíní kan ti ṣe ẹni yẹn. Lóòótọ́ ìdí ọ̀rọ̀ ibi tí ìṣòro gangan ti wà ọpọlọ ni, but ó yàtọ̀ sí ìyàtọ̀ tó tóbi ló wà láàrin pé kéèyàn ya wèrè àti kéèyàn wà depressed. So gbogbo àwọn kíní yẹn lèèyàn gbọ́dọ̀ máa ṣe. A gbọ́dọ̀ try àti dúró ti ara wa. Wọ́n á ní èèyàn, Yorùbá bọ̀ kó tó ṣe bí òun, wọ́n á ní èèyàn láṣọ èèyàn. So a gbọ́dọ̀ try àti dúró ti ara wa, a gbọ́dọ̀ try àti encourage ara wa. Then tí a bá wá ṣe gbogbo àwọn kíní yìí, tá a rí pé kíní yìí o, this person is not getting better, the next step is to seek help from a medical practitioner.
Okay, àwọn ìbéèrè kan ń wọlé, àwọn èèyàn kan náà ń bá wa dá sí bí Adéyẹmí Olúṣùnkànmí Abíọ́dún, wọ́n ń fi àwọn àtẹ̀jíṣẹ́ kan ránṣẹ́. Lára àwọn ohun tí wọ́n kọ sínú àtẹ̀jíṣẹ́ wọn bí ni pé àwọn àṣìlò oògùn, ọtí mímu bí ìmùtípara àti family history, bóyá depression, bóyá ó wà hereditary. Is it hereditary? What's the relationship between that and family history and all of that?
True and behold, lo and behold, I would not say it is hereditary. We call some things risk factors. Now, if I have a family member, probably my father or my mother, that has been depressed, it puts me at a risk of being depressed. But it does not mean all through my life. It does kì í ṣe àrùn tí wọ́n máa ń pass láti ìran dé ìran. So it is something that once it is not something that once that kí bàbá èèyàn ní àbí ìyá èèyàn ní àbí bàbá ńlá bàbá èèyàn kan ní, ó wá túmọ̀ sí pé dájúdájú àwọn ọmọ déràn ó máa ní kò rí bẹ́ẹ̀. Then nípa ọtí mímu àti gbogbo àwọn èròjà different drugs, they can actually push you towards being depressed. That is, wọ́n lè ṣe bí àkójọwọ́pọ̀ tó yẹ pé àwọn náà ọtí yẹn, sìgá, gbogbo ẹ̀ àwọn máa ti olú ẹ̀ sí gbogbo irú nǹkan bẹ́ẹ̀ yẹn. So àwọn yẹn náà máa ń fa àkófà depression.
Okay, depression yẹn ṣé ohun tí èèyàn lè nígbà tí ìrònú bá bẹ́ lómi, ìdí ọtí ni ó gbà lọ. Àní kí ló ń ṣe òun kọ́ òun fọtí òun fi ń pàrònú rẹ ni. Ṣé ọtí ó ṣe é pàrònú rẹ? Ṣé sìgá mímu àbí àwọn nǹkan míì bí àwọn substance míì, ṣé ohun tó ṣe é pàrònú rẹ ni?
Kò ṣe é pàrònú rẹ. Reason being that wọ́n ní kí èèyàn bá máa gé igi, wọ́n ní ó dáa kéèyàn gé láti ìrù díẹ̀. Because ọtí tí èèyàn bá mu á ká lójú within 1 or 2, 3 or 4 hours. Sìgá náà á ká lójú. You will come back to that normal state or to that depressed state that you were. So the alcohol literally has not solved any problem. Gbogbo ìṣòro yẹn ó sì wà ń bẹ̀. Ọtí yẹn kàn gbé yẹn dé, àwọn ọmọdé ìsìn wa ni ó gbé dé level kan. Kọ́tí yẹn bá tán lára, wàá tún padà sí ibi tó wà. So ìtumọ̀ sí ẹ̀ ni pé àti ọtí o àti sìgá o, gbogbo kinní yẹn kò lè solve problem kéèyàn bá address ìṣòro yẹn gangan láti ìsàlẹ̀.
Okay, 2 questions that are coming through here. Where we saw we have to mix mode. Can you ask the doctor to highlight the risk factors? That's the first question. The second question is, when depression leads to schizophrenia, what can we do to help the victim?
Okay, so a lot of risk factors are available for depression. And first and foremost, you should understand that there's a genetic cause. That is to say that there's a genetic link between parents, offspring, and children as regards this. Then there are some environmental factors that could be part of the risk factors. Environmental factors such as culture, tradition, then religion. There's some culture that once the husband dies, the attitude, the actions you take to the bereaved is a problem. It pushes that person towards depression. And also, we have some, how would I put it, biochemical factors. That there's a theory of depression that occurs in the brain when there's an imbalance between the excitatory and inhibitory neurotransmitters in the brain. I don't want to go too far into that aspect. Then, when you have some probably terminal diseases like cancers and the likes, even people fall into depression when you tell them they are diabetic, that they have to use this drug for life. Ẹni tó ti ń gbé ìgbé ayé ẹ̀ tó ń jẹ rice òkèlè bíi rice ṣíbí bíi mẹ́wàá, tẹ́ wá sọ fún pé kò lè jẹ ju mẹ́ta lọ. Some begin to find it hard to adjust to that kind of thing. So it causes, a lot of these things causes depression. And alcohol or drug abuse is a strong risk factor in our environment, even in the world at large. Then in women, we see more of depression in women. The women poses they have a higher risk. Although most times when you have it in men, there's this masked feeling because men try not to express themselves out.
Hmm.
So it is very hard to pick it in men because they don't talk. Men will try not to express themselves, probably because of tradition, culture, or the feeling that I am a man, I should be able to handle things. Then when people fall sick too, such that the probably imagine telling someone he or she has a brain cancer.
Hmm.
The person might die of depression than the brain cancer. So all these things can actually pose risk factors for depression.
All right, Doctor. Àwọn àtẹ̀jíṣẹ́ àwọn wọlé lóríṣiríṣi. A lot of people are also saying, okay, Atinukeola says, in a way, if we see anyone showing symptoms of depression, we need to spring into action to help before it becomes a bad case. I think that is
That's true.
that's the truth. And OG is saying we have to speak out, but more than ever, we must pay attention to moods of those around us. The changes are noticeable if we pay attention. Ìdí tá a bá fi ara balẹ̀ tí à ń ṣọ́ àwọn èèyàn tí wọ́n wà around wa, ó yẹ ká mọ ìgbà tí mood wọn bá ti bẹ̀rẹ̀ sí change ká lè mọ̀ pé nǹkan kan ti ń ṣẹlẹ̀ sí arábìnrin ká tètè gbé ìgbésẹ̀ ní lórí ẹ̀. Àwọn àtẹ̀jíṣẹ́ yẹn ẹ jẹ́ kí ó máa lọ sí fún ìbéèrè àbí ẹ fẹ́ dá sí 07082523048 07082523048. Ìbéèrè kan wọlé láti ọwọ́ alàgbà kan tí wọ́n pè ní Adéyẹmọ Samuel. Wọ́n ní, good evening, sir. What is the difference between brain chemical imbalance and depression? Brain chemical imbalance and depression.
Okay. See, when we say there's a brain chemical imbalance, it is a theory to highlight most of the problems that are caused with the brain. There has to be a balance between when you are happy and when you are sad. There are some hormones that control being happy and when you are sad. Now, so when you are depressed or when there's a phase of being depressed, that means that reflect when you do some examinations of the brain, they call it's an EEG. It will reflect in that brain that okay, probably the inhibitory neurotransmitters have gone down. You have more of excitatory. So in that moment, it's called mania. But when you have depression, in most times it is the inhibitory that are increased. That is, neurotransmitters kan lọlẹ̀. So such that kàkà kí ẹni yẹn máa wà gingered láti probably be happy or try to do stuff, there is this inhibition from the neurotransmitters. So it is not that you can compare brain imbalance and depression. The brain imbalance is a theory to prove either depression or mania.
Okay. Mo lérò pé àlàyé yẹn ó ti yé ẹni tí ó béèrè béèrè yẹn. Kó tó di pé àwa lọ sí ọ̀dọ̀ arábìnrin tí ọkọ wọn ó ṣíwọ́ iṣẹ́ ní bí ọdún bíi mélòó kan sẹ́yìn. Báwo ni wọ́n ṣe wẹ òkun yẹn? Bí wọ́n tiẹ̀ tí ì wẹ̀ já, báwo ni wọ́n ṣe wẹ̀ ẹ́? Ṣé wọ́n ní moment tí àwọn náà máa feel depressed? Báwo ni wọ́n ṣe làájá? Arákùnrin kan bá wa sọ̀rọ̀ ń bì í. Wọ́n ní individuals should take whatever happens to them as the will of God. I just lost my wife in January this year, and I never felt any depression, any bouts of pressure.
Well, I think I want to comment on that.
Okay, sir.
Okay, so the truth is, I want us to understand. Different people respond to different situations in a different manner. You know, what is applicable to Mr. A might not be applicable to Mr. B. So if you can, you know, escape or move through being bereaved easily, does not mean that someone else would move through easily. So I don't want us to trivialize or normalize people's pain or problem. Don't say because I've passed through it, we all have different threshold of dealing with problems. And in fact, there are several stages of depression. The new classification would say there are about 7 stages. I don't want to bore you, but the point is that at those stages, A, B, C, D, E, F. You can start from E and go to A. You can start from F and go to B. Either ways, you can start from shock and go to denial, and even go to being depressed without being angry. And sometimes people just get angry and just accept. So religion also helps in moving. A lot of religions will push you that it is the will of God. So when you accept it, it's always easy to move.
Okay. So ohun tó ṣẹlẹ̀ sí èèyàn kan àbí èèyàn kan ìyà téèyàn kan kọ sí bí èèyàn kan ṣe gbà tó mú mọ́ra bẹ́ẹ̀ kọ́ ni ẹlòmíì lè ṣe gbà ń tẹ̀ ń sọ nìyẹn pé kì wá ṣe pé ìwọ náà èmi náà mú tèmi mọ́ra ni ìwọ náà máa mú mọ́ra ni a gbọ́dọ̀ jẹ́ kí ẹni yẹn kó ní oore ọ̀fẹ́ àti àǹfààní láti lè express grief àbí.
Bẹ́ẹ̀ni.
kó dẹ̀ experience ẹ̀.
Bẹ́ẹ̀ni.
Alright, kó tó di pa lọ sọ́dọ̀ arábìnrin Àyà Adélọ́dún, ẹ jẹ́ kí n ka àtẹ̀jíṣẹ́ yìí tó wá látọ̀dọ̀ alàgbà kan tó sọ pé solemn theory ni wọ́n pe orúkọ wọn. Wọ́n ní, could depression be spiritual? Because some people find it difficult to be happy despite having all the money. Pé àwọn èèyàn kan lówó ṣùgbọ́n inú wọn kì í dùn náà ni wọ́n máa ń wà depressed ni. Pé is it spiritual?
Well, medically, it has not been proven that depression is spiritual. I'm not saying there are no spiritual effects or anything, but medically, there is no theory that has been able to link being depressed to spiritual causes. The fact paying on low could mean pay in your madam. There could be other causes. In Yoruba, there could be other causes that might make the person sad or feel bad. And in low inú ẹ lè má dùn. Ẹni tó lówó kó yẹ pé ìgbà tí ó lówó gan bóyá ìyá ẹ̀ jìyà nítorí ẹ̀, ìgbà tóun máa papà lówó ìyá ẹ̀ ti kú. Lọ́kàn rẹ̀ nísàlẹ̀ ọkàn rẹ̀ inú ẹ̀ lè má dùn. Kò dẹ̀ ṣe bó ṣe máa sọ fún yàn kí ẹ̀ bá béèrè tàbí bí ẹ̀ bá bá sọ̀rọ̀. So there's no link medically between a spiritual cause and depression.
Okay, àwọn àtẹ̀jíṣẹ́ ohun wọlé but kó tó di pé àtẹ̀síwájú nítorí àti fẹ́ lọ bí ó ti lé ní 30 ìṣẹ́jú ń lọ sí 40 ìṣẹ́jú bá ẹ jẹ́ ká lọ sọ́dọ̀ arábìnrin Àríkẹ́ Adélọ́dún kí wọ́n lè share experience wọn pẹ̀lú wa. Hello ma'am.
Hello, good evening.
Good evening.
Yeah, Kweto.
How are you?
Yeah, I'll start from one of the people that made comment. The man that said he lost his wife in January. And till now he's doing well. I hope he's still listening to me. I want to tell him categorically that he's still in denial. If truly was love in that relationship, in that marriage, he's still in denial. And in the next few months, I will appreciate if you can actually come back on the show and tell us another thing or the state of things, because I know it's still going to get to him no matter what. That's what I have to say about that. Yeah, well done, doctor. Thank you so much for you. I've really learned a lot.
Thank you.
Well, I could remember when my first phase of depression after my loss, I didn't know that I was in depression. In fact, to me, I felt as though my life was going on perfectly, like, okay, now I'm okay, this, that. Like when I mentioned denial, that stage came for me at the very, very early stage of my grief. people were so surprised, like, how is she doing it? How are you coping? How can with this? What they expected wasn't my response to the loss. I was the one talking to people not to cry. I was the one giving people word of encouragement. When people come to visit me, I will be the one telling them it's the will of God, this, that, giving them words of encouragement. When people cry, I'll be the one telling them not to cry. In fact, I couldn't cry for some weeks. I remember on the spot, I cried a little, but after like 5 minutes, I could not cry for like a month. I couldn't cry. But when it was approaching like 3 months after, it dawned on me that, okay, this has really come to, maybe because sometimes I travel, I'll be away for months. So I was still like, maybe I'm still on a trip. So probably I got back after 3 months and it dawned on me and the phases of depression started. So my first stage of depression, I was not even aware, because I remember 3 weeks after I started working, I would wake up in the morning, go to work, dress fine. If you see me, you won't even know that something happened to me, except I tell you. Everyone at my office will just look at me and be like, what's happening? They were just, but when it was exactly 3 months, I just found myself flat. Like the whole thing threw me back to the beginning of the loss and nobody to help, because as at that time, no one was around me again. Everybody left when they noticed that I was fine, I was doing well. So I would just be indoor, lock myself, be on my phone, or probably I wasn't sleeping, and then I was just thinking, okay, probably I just miss him, not knowing that I was depressed. And I was like that for like 5 to 6 months. I didn't walk, I hardly go to bathroom, sometimes 3 days I would just be on my bed. If I just feel like, okay, I've not had my bath for 2 days, I will just stand up. So you see, this reaction to loss and depression it varies from individual, depend on the kind of person you are, how you take things, and how people perceive you. But the only thing I can say is people, environment sometimes matters. When you see people going through loss, like that man that said he's carrying on because it's the will of God, people around him really need to pay close attention to him. It could make it could be fine. Maybe nothing will happen to him. But when it will hit back at some people, they may just try to do some things that is out of what everybody can even imagine. Because at the time of my first stage of depression, there was nobody around me, and I could have done a lot of terrible things to myself. In fact, I did a lot of terrible things to myself, but I thank God that God helped me. It was just God. If not for God, and let me say my children.
So were you at any point suicidal? Did you at any point think of ending it?
Yes. It happened to me. Like, I don't know. There was a day I was ready. I already thought about it. I was already calling people. I had to call one of my friends. If anything happened to me, she should please take care of my children. I told her some things that I may not be able to say on here, because you don't know who is listening. I told her to run away with my children, that don't let some certain people go close to my children in case anything happened to me. And at the point of ending it all, because I was ready, like I just felt as though it was the end for me. Let me not use my own problem to affect these children. Just a call saved me. Just a call. I used to call that woman my guardian angel. A lot of people on my platform know the woman because I normally celebrate her. I don't know this woman from Ada. 2 hours to the time, I made a post in a group. So she saw the post and she was like, this lady, because at the earlier stage of my grief, I normally post to encourage widows. In a particular widow group, I'll be posting, encouraging them that, look, you need to move on, blah, blah. So when she saw the post, probably that post triggered her to like call me. She put a call through to me and I was crying. I was alone in my room. My children were in the sitting room and I was crying, and I've not been able to cry like that. So she was like, what happened? I said, Mommy. I call her Mommy because I know her on social media, but we've never spoken on phone. That was the first time she will call me. And I told her, I said, Mommy, I just want to end it all. Like, this is the end of the road. Please, if there's anything you can do to help my children. And this woman spoke with me on phone for 3 hours. She was in the States. She wasn't calling me on WhatsApp. She was calling me on normal call. And she spoke to me for 3 hours. She talked me out of whatever, because I already opened what I wanted to drink. I had to open my room door. She said I should go outside, I should stroll. She continued to talk to me, and that was how I survived. I don't know who went to touch that woman that called her. I don't think if that call didn't come in that day, I will not be here sharing my story today. I always make posts about it. I tell people about it, but I've never really told them what I was about to do. I just said that I was suicidal. So when this thing will hit back at whoever that is going through grief, people won't know. So nobody should have the mindset of, it's been 3 months, it's been 5 months, she should be fine now, or it should be fine now. It's a healing from a grief is a gradual process. And let me tell you this, out of 100 people that experience loss, either loss of a child, loss of a spouse, loss of job, 90% out of 100%, 90 to 95%, let it not be that I want to say everybody will approach this state of depression. We get into this state of depression. There is nothing you want to do about it. It will come, it will hit you. And most of the time, you will not know that you are in it. So for me, it came in stages for me, but thank God now, I don't know, am I out of depression? I'm out by the grace of God. So
okay. Talking about it is also a process of healing. How far have you gone? Dr. mo ń bọ̀ lọ́dọ̀ yín gbogbo tó ń sọ lórí ìbò yẹn mo ń bọ̀ lọ́dọ̀ yín ká lè react sí kò mọ̀ pé àwọn ẹ ti ń fi ọkàn mú àwọn nǹkan ń bẹ̀ yẹn àwọn èèyàn náà bó ṣe ń gbọ́rọ̀ yẹn they are already making notes ẹ mọ̀ pé abèrè kíní kan lẹ́ẹ̀kan depression and suicide when you have this feeling that there is nothing left again. So màá fẹ́ kí ẹ react sí yẹn but madam nígbà tí gbogbo kìíní yẹn ń ṣẹlẹ̀ tẹ wá after tẹ̀tẹ̀ bẹ́ẹ̀ ni ẹ sọ̀rọ̀ how did you work your way back?
I remember on that day we started talking around I think 3 p.m. and I was outside my house for like 2 hours. We were talking in my room, then I left my room. She said I should be strolling around my area, so she was just talking to me. She said a lot of things that I may not want to talk about because she lost her husband at a very younger, even way younger than myself. She was, I think, 31 or so when she lost her husband, and she was having a baby and all that. So she started telling me the stories, how it happened, she told me a lot of things that made me realize that, God, so my own is even better. You understand? So she told me to go outside and I should start strolling around my area, and I started strolling around my area. So before I think I got back home around 8 that day. And when I got home, I just had my shower, took my children into my room, and we started watching something on my laptop or so. I remember everything that happened that day. I remembered clearly. And we slept off after some time, and that was it. That was the end of that suicide, and that was the only time and the last time I ever considered ending it all. But that wasn't the end of my depression. I had phases, like I said. So.
Okay.
Doc.
Sir.
There you have it.
Okay. Madam, first and foremost, I want to thank God for your life, and also want to thank God that at least you were able to pass through that phase. You see, one ìròyìn kò tó àmójúbà. Truthfully, a lot of things she has said is true. And most times, when people commit suicide, majority of them suffer depression. And now, depression has been linked to the fact that people feel that there's nothing to live for. Most times, when someone is depressed, that is skin cover emotion, if there's just one tinge of hope that, okay, let me live for my children, you discover that person will begin to make conscious efforts to live and live well. But when there's a feeling of there's nothing I can do, this is the end of it, when you have lost all hope, then suicide will be the next thing. So as much as possible, all those things that she has said is true. And I'm so happy that throughout her face, she never mentioned that she used drugs. Because most times people have the belief that once you are depressed, you have to be on medications and that has to be for life. Not all levels, there are different stages of depression. As in, not all forms of depression would need you to use drugs. And even if you had to use drugs, that is kí èèyàn máa lo oògùn ní ọ̀pọ̀ ìgbà, kì í ṣe pé tí èèyàn máa fi kú, èèyàn máa fi lo oògùn yẹn. And now, kó bá ṣèyàn nísìnyí, kò túmọ̀ sí pé lọ́dún kan àbí lọ́dún méjì síwájú kò tún lè wáyé. But the first thing is to be able to recognize that, okay, ó dà pé kíní tún fẹ́ ṣẹlẹ̀. Then you now identify that, okay, kí ni mo lè ṣe? Some people listen to music. Some people go out to spend family time. Some people go out probably to watch the movie, or they probably go out to do one or two things. The point is just you have to find something that can give you a reason to live, and something that would at least make you happy, at least stimulate your brain to be excited, so that you don't become sad too much and then move downward towards depression. So now, as regards different people and different stages, trust me, just like you have said, different people pass through depression at different stages. And the fact that you're able to, overcome that grief, or apparently look like you have overcome it, does not mean that you cannot be depressed at another stage. So Kamama were overconfident, especially for the men. We always feel we can move on with anything. Being a man does not mean you cannot be depressed. And being a man, it is just like that when you lose someone or when you lose something. And you don't have to lose someone before you can fall into depression. Can fall into depression. And suddenly things become abnormal. You probably don't have money. You probably lost a job. Different phases of life. Life happens to us at different stages. So when you pass through different phases that things are not really looking well, you can also lead you to this kind of thing that we are talking about. So you don't have to lose someone. Even loss of opportunities can actually be a cause of depression. I think I should rest there and allow.
Okay, arákùnrin tí wọ́n fi àtẹ̀jíṣẹ́ ránṣẹ́ lẹ́ẹ̀kan yẹn, wọ́n ní I had the woman, the loss was painful and like anything, and I'm still shedding tears till now. What I'm saying is that spiritual aspect of life has helped me. We have 4 kids in the college, and I can't overthink the issue and allow things to become problem. Who will take care of these kids? That's from Ayon Yemi. Tí wọ́n ní àwọn lose ìyàwó àwọn ní January pé bó làwọn fẹ́ rù sí. Àwọn sì ń sunkún, kì í ṣe pé àwọn ò sunkún, ṣùgbọ́n àwọn ò jẹ́ kí ìrònú yẹn kó pọ̀ ju pé ẹrù yẹn ẹrù ẹni méjì tó dídẹ nìkan á wá di pé kò sẹ́ni tó máa gbé ẹrù ọ̀hún tí nǹkan kan bá ṣe àwọn. Arábìnrin Adélọ́dún, ṣé ti gbọ́ ohun tí wọ́n sọ yẹn?
Fair enough. If he's grieving, then I think he's safe to some extent. You understand? The first comment sounded like she was numb about it, so it triggers me like there is nothing like that. But if he's still grieving, crying once in a while, he's still on the right track.
Okay, Doc,
Sir.
Ìbéèrè kan tó ń jẹ wọlé níbí yìí, a ti gbọ́ depression and suicide. On depression and sexual urge, pé tí wọ́n bá wà depressed, pé ó máa ń affect bí èèyàn ṣe lè ṣe ọkùnrin àti ṣe aya nílé. Ṣé ó ní nǹkan kan ṣe pẹ̀lú méjèèjì?
Yes, ó máa affect ẹ. Wọ́n á tún máa sọ pé inú dídùn ló mú orí yá. It affects the sexual urge, and most times it becomes a problem because, just like I mentioned earlier, that you don't have to lose someone before you can fall into depression. Now, imagine a man that has been finding it hard to provide money or provide for the home. That kind of man might probably have issues with being sexually active. When you're being so it affects it, and it is related. Then,
Okay,
as regards the other man,
okay,
I just want to say something that I mentioned, that a lot of people, religion has helped through phase of depression, in the sense that because different religions have a way of making you accept it as the will of God. So most times, rather than overthink the whole matter, you accept it that, okay, this thing has come to stay. So now, in fact, in some phases of depression, once you can accept that this thing has happened, it is like you have moved the positive improvement. And so, just like you mentioned, that it begins to move forward. Once to live for is another positive step.
Okay, Doc. Good evening, sir. I would like to remain anonymous, so please bear with me. I had depression and tried committing suicide. I am a lawyer. I got an attack on my leg. I was down for almost 3 months in very serious pains. When I got out, I had matrimonial crisis that had to leave the home. I was depressed, crying every night, losing hope about my life. My children, especially one of them, took sides with their mother. I took this hit late in my 50s and going to be a tenant. It hurts, but it's better to have sincere people around you. I'm enjoying the program, but it's not easy getting back to my feet. My children, though, are coming around, but it's been rough. Doc.
Well, first and foremost, we still want to thank God for that phase. But the truth of the matter is, whoever that person is has come to understand that this thing has happened, and it has happened. One, and the person has also come to understand that there's something called depression. So understanding that, okay, even when things are rough, I have to live for myself. He mentioned that it is so good to live with sincere people rather than staying with insincere people. If that is the only reason why he wants to live, then it's fine. The point is, you have to make yourself happy. I keep telling people, it might appear selfish, but in the race of life, oftentimes than not, it is better that you think about yourself first in most of the situations. You have to make yourself happy. You have to find yourself a way of making yourself happy, because on the long run, when the chips are down, you are back to being you. It is first you who takes the hits before your family members. So on the long run, everybody, one way or the other, will find a way to cope with their problem. And in life, we will always have different issues. I myself, for an example, all through my medical tour and career, I've not had it rosy. I had several issues. But one way or the other, I had to move on. I had to think that, okay, I have to graduate. I have to be this. There were hopes that I was thinking that I want to achieve in life, and there are still hopes. So because of that, despite of any problem that I will face, that hope that I'm looking at in the nearest future will keep me going. So you have to just find a way to keep yourself going and make yourself happy. Your children will come around by God's grace. Everything will normalize. And even if it does not normalize, you still have to make yourself happy.
Okay, ìbéèrè yẹn ń rọ̀ wọlé bí òjò ni, but màá mú àwọn tí mo lè mú. Selena Tisha, why is depression more prevalent in women than in men? And what efforts are underway to improve the treatment of depression? Yeah, alakoko ẹnìkejì, Mrs. Mofola, only I want lose sometimes back. She died in my arms. I noticed that I couldn't cry while my siblings and family members were wailing during the burial. But lately, I had a lot on my mind, especially if I remember those things she usually would do for us during her lifetime. Now I find myself keeping to myself, staying indoors a lot, picking fights with my spouse and neighbors over small things. Sir, I want to know if I have fallen into depression or it has gone beyond depression. Two questions. Prevalence among women and what is being done. Is there any,
Well, as regards the prevalence among women, the gender-wise, we have different hormones that run through our system, and women most time, without having any medical knowledge, you understand that there's a way women respond more to stimulus. That is opening in command to get to them. Now, when it gets to them, they oftentimes express themselves more, and because they express themselves more, it is just statistics. Medicine will now pick it out. Okay, 4 women have had depression. Men might not express themselves, so you might probably just pick 1 out of 10 men that have been depressed. Does not mean that it is not going on in those men, but we have not been able to prove it scientifically that they are being depressed. So it is just like an iceberg phenomenon, such that what is lying under one do a jail or something. So different people would have it and they might not express it, but women most times tend to express it more. Then hormonal factor is also a problem. Then there are some other factors. Okay, about BIMO.
Hello, doc. Hello. Okay. Network. Hello, doc.
Because of these things, it will occur more. You will see it more in female. Hello.
I wouldn't lose signal, and we lost the signal. A bit of
okay.
Your
I'm here.
Okay, can you hear it?
Okay, so what was the last thing you heard, please?
You were trying to explain why it's more prevalent in women than men.
I was trying to explain that apart from hormonal factors, some health conditions that are more common or that you see typically in women, such as post-delivery depression. It actually increases the risk or the prevalence in women. And so now that it has been statistically proven that out of 10 men have depression, because you can quote it because you have discovered that they are having depression. But as regards men that find it hard to open up, you might probably not see more. So science will tell you that it is more in women. Yes, women might be at a higher risk, but when you can only say it when you have been able to pick that, okay, this is the actual number of men that have been having depression and females that have been having depression. Now, as regards efforts to improve treatment of depression, mostly it's all a form of mental awareness. There has been a lot of campaign in and outside Nigeria as regards mental awareness. We're trying to make people understand that this is that. There's something called depression. There's something called grief. So it's not just use of drugs. Then as regards drugs too, we have a lot of new drugs that people use that have worked fine, and research are still going on as regards that. There are different type of lifestyle therapies and modifications. You try to probably engage the person. People have club and societies that they join. They have people now they are beginning to see therapists. People are beginning to understand that, okay, I can pay someone, talk to someone, express myself, and feel better after. Unlike probably 20, 30, 40 years ago, when 8 out of 10 individuals would not know that there's something called depression. Just like we are doing now, is a form of improving depression. This is a form of awareness that you never can tell will go far and wide. 5 people can listen to this program, and those 5 can talk to you about another 10 in their respective environment. There's a chain-like effect, there's a chain-like spread on awareness about mental related disorders. And so it has really helped to increase the treatment. Treatment is not just based on drugs. Most of these conditions, lifestyle modification is the baseline or the basis of treatment. Then as regards the other madam,
àwọn máa ń ronú àwọn máa ń dá wà àwọn máa ń dá jókòó àwọn máa ń kọra mọ́ aládùúgbò lórí ọ̀rọ̀ kékeré báyìí ìkanra ni.
pẹ̀lú gbogbo àwọn nǹkan tí wọ́n sọ yẹn, I think she's until proven otherwise in a depressive state, and she needs help. She needs to first and foremost accept that, okay, I think this thing is happening to me. Then she now begins to make conscious efforts on herself to make sure that she tries to encourage herself, she tries to make herself happy. Then she can call one or two loved ones around her that she can trust and explain to them that, okay, ikú ẹni báyìí tí mo rò pé kò dùn mí nígbà yẹn, ó dà pé kíní yìí ti ń ṣe mí o, ó ti ń dùn mí ju bí mo ṣe rò lọ. Ẹ jọ̀ọ́, bó jẹ́ kẹ́ni kó máa gbàdúrà fún yín, bó jẹ́ kó máa bá yín sọ̀rọ̀. Then it will now be left to those people to begin to make constant efforts to at least be there for you. But as much as possible, first and foremost, you have to be there for yourself. You have to accept that something is not right. It is not a normal thing. It is normal sharing by me. If you lose your wife, sakani you lose your way. Or the couple later. Only that is, you cannot say that person is depressed. You understand? It just, there are some memories that can make you grieve once in a while. Does not mean that you are depressed. But when it becomes a stage and you are beginning to lose concentration, you are beginning to lose interest in a lot of things, you are beginning to pick up fights and all those things, you literally don't care about yourself, don't care about what you should care about, and babam barrier, then you can say that person is depressed.
Okay. I can tún àwọn àtẹ̀jíṣẹ́ kan tí ó tún wọlé. Somebody saying thank you very much, doctor, for alàgbà tí wọ́n sọ pé àwọn lose ìyàwó wọn January yẹn. Wọ́n ní kí àdúpẹ́ ní ọwọ́ yín. Rhoda ẹwà yìí wọ́n ní dog ò address issue eléyìí dáadáa. Pé depression tó mú ọ̀pọ̀lọpọ̀ ní ìsìn is more driven by the poor state of the economy, pé àwọn èèyàn ríṣẹ́ kò sówó kò sí baálé ilé ò lè ṣe bí baálé ilé, pé òun ló ń fa depression lọ́pọ̀lọpọ̀ gbà fún àwọn èèyàn nísìn, pé bóyá bá wọn emphasize yẹn dáadáa.
Well, àdúpẹ́ pé àwọn náà ti emphasize yẹn, and bó ṣe ń ṣara ayé náà ló ń ṣara wọn. Bó ṣe ń ṣara Nàìjíríà ló ń ṣara Amẹ́ríkà, ó kàn lè pọ̀ jura wọn lọ ni. The economy, I believe, is bad everywhere. So now, most times, there is an unnecessary societal pressure. One will pay, ọ̀rẹ́ mi, tajo jẹ́ 30, ó ti kọ́lé, ó ti ra mọ́tò, èmi kì í gbé ní ilé mi rent. So people like that begin to overthink and overwork themselves. But the advice is that one should not pressurize himself or herself. That is, gbogbo wa lájọ ń sá eré ìje yìí, lájọ ń gbé ilé ayé, kò wá túmọ̀ sí pé gbogbo wa lájọ máa ṣe àwọn kankan nígbà kan náà. Ìwà ní àyànmọ́ táyé ó yàtọ̀ sí àyànmọ́ kẹ́hìndé. So oníkálukú ìgbà àti àkókò náà ni. Ànàdúrà ni pé a máa ń gbàdúrà pé kí Ọlọ́run máa bá wa ra ìgbà padà. So the economy is not affecting you alone. It's not affecting me alone. I think it's affecting most of us. So as much as possible, we have to come to terms with the fact that the economy is bad. We can only get better. Then also, I tell people that even if the economy is better, you have to strive to make things work. Then upon it back, ẹlòmíì máa ń ṣe jura ẹ lọ. Ìwọ tí o mọ̀ pé salary ẹ ò ju probably 30,000 naira lọ. Kò wá yẹ pé kí ìwọ lọ́tún máa bá ní pé wọ́n mú aṣọ 5,000 naira lénìí lọ́la òun rà. Ó wá di parí oṣù, ó wá ní òun lákòjọ. Èèyàn gbọ́dọ̀ máa ṣe bí ó ti mọ bí ẹlẹ́wà ìṣàpá. So I think that should address that.
Okay, arábìnrin kan béèrè question o. Wọ́n ní a Heboya Friday. Can fasting and prayer solve depression? Fasting and prayer.
Well, it's a bit dicey in the sense that I don't think, or I don't know that there's a spiritual solution to depression. Although there are some spiritual factors that, when people come to accept that it is the will of God, then now when as Christians will say that they have faith that things will get better. So it helps them in a way to at least have something to live for. But fasting and prayer, I don't think has a way of helping your depressive state, because on the long run, you are not eating. Someone that is depressed will probably have loss of appetite, and you are still fasting. So how are we sure that you are not having signs of depression and you are saying that you are fasting? And now when you are praying, you say you want to be alone. Depressed people most times want to be alone. So how are we sure that you are not depressed and you are claiming that or so? So fasting and prayer has not been proven scientifically to help depression, although there are several religious factors. That is, those factors are not things we do based on religion, but they are based on our beliefs that accrue to different religion. Wọ́n sọ pé àtọ̀dọ̀ Ọlọ́run láti wá, àtọ̀dọ̀ Ọlọ́run láti lọ. Irú àwọn ọ̀rọ̀ báyìí máa ń jẹ́ kéèyàn tètè máa gbàgbọ́ pé okay, nǹkan báyìí ti ṣẹlẹ̀. Ìyẹn òun mean pé church téèyàn ń lọ yẹn gangan ló ń mú depression yẹn kúrò, àbí àwẹ̀ àtàdúrà ló ń mú depression yẹn kúrò. But àwọn ọ̀rọ̀ tí gbogbo wa ń bára wa sọ ní àwọn àpéjọpọ̀ yẹn náà máa ń help out láti mú èèyàn kúrò ní depression.
All right. Ǹjẹ́ a rí ẹnikẹ́ni tó fẹ́ dá sí lára àwọn tí a jọ wà lórí platform yìí, Restream? Toyin, you have something to say or question to ask the doctor? Tomishe?
Yes. Good evening, sir.
Good evening. Go ahead.
Yes, sir. It's not a question, but what I wrote something out last week. It's like sometimes finding the perfect person to open up to is difficult.
Go down.
I said sometimes someone that is depressed, finding the person to talk with is difficult for that person.
Line here, Uda. Are you saying somebody to talk to or something?
Finding the right
person. Okay, finding the right person. Láti bá sọ̀rọ̀.
Finding to talk to.
Okay.
Yes, and then sometimes when you now tell people that this is what I'm going through, they will tell you that no, everybody's going through it now, but I don't go through it. They are all going through a lot. Like what somebody wrote last week when I posted something last week, and then somebody said, but why not go through a lot? Let that person, anybody that is going through a lot, that person go through the lot by himself. But I said to the person that the way you can hold the way you can accept things, you can process things is different from the way I will process things. The way our threshold is different.
Okay, ó dà ń pé a manage láti gbọ́, ó dà ń pé line ẹ̀ ò clear bí a signal ẹ̀ ni pé okay láti lè rí ẹni téèyàn máa bá sọ̀rọ̀, ẹni tó ṣe fọkàn tán tí ò jẹ́ pé ẹni tó máa sọ pé ṣé kékeré tí wọ́n rí rè tèmi tó pọ̀ ju tiẹ̀ lọ. Or somebody, I'm picking a pity passion. Mrs. Adelodun, you want to share your experience with us here? Àtìrẹ́ ni bá sọ̀rọ̀, tí ò jẹ́ ẹni tó máa sọ pé tèmi pọ̀ ju tiẹ̀ lọ, gbogbo èèyàn náà ló ń go through tí wọ́n náà ń go through. Are you there?
Yes, I'm here.
Okay.
Yes, about that. At some point, I decided to keep to myself. Why? The reason is that àwọn èèyàn tí jẹ́ pé mo lè bá sọ̀rọ̀, like maybe àwọn family mi or bóyá àwọn ọ̀rẹ́ mi tájọ máa ń sọ̀rọ̀ before my loss. Let me not my family. I'm not talking about my family now. I'm talking about àwọn ọ̀rẹ́ tájọ máa ń sọ̀rọ̀ before my loss. I noticed that after the incident, a lot of them drew back from me, like people that would basically call me on a daily basis, like, where are you? What are you doing? That will discuss. People that will come to my house, that will eat together, dine together, discuss life together. Till now, I didn't see majority of them. Though, like a year after the incident, so few of them tried to come back, but the doors of my friendship was already closed. I'm not fighting anybody, but I still do talk to them. So at some point, I just choose not to talk to people like that. And my family, why I mentioned my family at first was like they were far from me. The only means of communicating with them at that point was just to call them on phone. And I believe that everybody not only problem don't deal with. And if you are not in the shoe of loss, you will not understand that this person really need people to talk to, really need people. At some point, it will turn to like, you know, so, and this thing sometimes filter that this person. So instead of becoming enemy to anybody, it's better to just let them be. But most of the time, the only thing I want to tell people is that when you see people going through something, like someone said that it's not only loss of spouse, be loss of child, loss or thing a man grief about. Some people lost their leg, some people lost their hand. All these things, grief me. State of mind, then might change, and to adapt back. Only the young need arawa. And thing about him feel like, okay, I'm becoming an emotional liability to these people. You will want to withdraw. So it's not left for these people to try and draw you closer. That no, don't run away from us. We are here to help you. Everybody need help. Anybody that is going through grief, or need help, or need people around him or her. Either don't leave her alone. Don't let her beg for that attention. Like, my friend, come and visit me now. Come and stay with me. Before you do it to them, it helps a lot. It helps a lot.
All right, Doc. Ní àkótán àti lo wákàtí kan ó ti ń lé bí ìṣẹ́jú mẹ́fà lábẹ́ láàrin ìṣẹ́jú mẹ́rin tí ìbéèrè mi ò bá wọlé kí a máa kó kí ni àkótán ẹ̀ ìpè tí a fẹ́ fi àwọn èèyàn tí wọ́n ń gbọ́ wa àwọn èèyàn kan wà tí wọn ò tí accept àwọn ní depression àwọn èèyàn kan mọ̀ pé àwọn ní depression but bóyá kò sówó àti lọ sọ́dọ̀ dókítà kí ni àkótán ẹ̀ kí ni ìgbésẹ̀ bíi mẹ́rin márùn-ún tí wọ́n gbọ́dọ̀ gbé.
Well, first and foremost, mo fẹ́ sọ kankan láti ibi tí Mrs. Oyèbádé ti bá wa parí ẹ̀ wípé kò dìgbà tí èèyàn bá ń sunkún ká tó sọ pé ó ní depression. Àti kì í ṣe gbogbo ẹni tí kò sunkún ni ò pass through depression. And lọ́pọ̀ ìgbà a máa ń wò pé àgbàlagbà nìkan ni kíní yìí ṣe. I can tell you for a fact that a lot of adolescents are depressed, and that is why you will see them having a lot of drug abuse and different social vices. Àti wọ́n máa mú oríṣiríṣi nípa lílò láti já àwọn gbà lọ́wọ́ nǹkan tí àwọn feel pé ó ń ṣe àwọn. So now when you think you are depressed, there are several steps you can take. But one, you have to first and foremost accept that this thing is wrong. Something is wrong with me. You have to accept and identify that there's a problem. Now, if you have identified that there is that problem, now the next step is finding. You can browse anything on the internet and you can even get different advice. Now, if you talk to someone, you yourself will know if you feel better or you are not feeling better. And health, to an extent, well, from this part of the world, is not that hard to get. You don't have to go to a neuropsychiatric hospital to treat depression. You can walk into any government hospital, just tell them you want to see a doctor.
Okay.
Tell them an identified doctor will know what to do and how to take it. From you want to go to the hospital, you yourself, over time, it can be your pastor, it can be your imam, it can be whoever, it can be your mentor or role model. You just have to speak out. I think that's a major thing. You have to speak out. Don't try to psycho condition yourself to believe that there is no help. There is help around. You never can tell who will be of help. It could be your child, it could be your husband, it could be someone that you probably have not, just like our madam mentioned, that she never had any conversation with the person that actually helped her out before. So anybody can be of help. But one, in summary, you have to accept that there's a problem and identify the problem. And you have to begin to find steps to take. That is, you have to begin to speak out. And when you begin to speak out, it might be tough, it might be hard. People can make jest of you. Trust me, they are not knowledgeable. That is why they are doing that. When you become knowledgeable,
All right, Doc. Mo dúpẹ́ gidigidi na pé signal fẹ́ máa fail bẹ́ẹ̀, but etí ẹ̀ tẹ̀ ṣe náà ló ń jó òun. Tó bá ń gbọ́ mi, mo dúpẹ́ gidigidi o, Dr. Okay, Dr. Elemide Jedediah. When you can request for number, but I need to seek your consent before I do that. I'll talk to you after the program. Mo dúpẹ́ gidigidi fún àkókò yín. At a very short notice, Onimo get across in, and you are willing to be part of this. Thank you very much, sir, Doc.
It's my pleasure, sir.
All right. Àti rí ọ̀pọ̀lọpọ̀ àwọn nǹkan kan dìmú, mo sì lérò wípé àwọn ìta dìmú yìí yóò ṣe iṣẹ́ ìtúsílẹ̀ nínú ìdè. Nítorí gbà míì èèyàn wà tó máa fi àwọn èrò ọkàn ẹ̀ tó máa fi dẹ́ra ìmọ́lẹ̀ tí ó sì ní mọ̀. Seek help ẹgbọ́n tí dókítà sọ. Tábà ti lè tètè mọ̀ wípé àwọn nǹkan bábà ń ṣe mí, ìrònú yìí fẹ́ pọ̀ jù, ó ti ń dádì jẹun dáadáa, kò socialize mọ́, ó ti ń dá wà, mood ẹ̀ ti change, gbogbo ẹ̀ ti ń change, ó dẹ̀ ti wá ń pẹ́, ó ti ń pẹ́ tó ti wà lẹ́nu ẹ̀. Kì í ṣègbà tí èèyàn ọkọ bá kú àbí táyà bá kú àbí tí èèyàn bá sọ nǹkan kan nù àbí pàdánù nǹkan kan àbí iṣẹ́ bọ́ àbí kò sówó nìkan. Ẹ gbọ́ pé dókítà ti sọ, táwọn èèyàn wa náà ti sọ, tán dẹ̀ share experience pẹ̀lú wa. Mo dúpẹ́ gidigidi o. Tó bá di ìgbà míì tí a tún ní orí ọ̀fẹ́ àti àǹfààní láti tún pàdé, mo lérò pé ńgbà bá pé dókítà wọ́n jẹ́ wa. Thank you very much, Doc.
It's my pleasure. Thank you for the opportunity.
All right, kí n fi àsìkò yìí náà dúpẹ́ lọ́wọ́ àwọn tí wọ́n ti ṣùgbà mi lórí ètò. Those that have been part of this, that have helped. My production manager here in Richmond, Virginia, US, is Adeboye Taiwo. Thank you very much. Ọmọláyọ̀ Ògúndèyí láti Nàìjíríà, olólùtú wa. Adúpẹ́ lọ́wọ́ Tóyìn Arífáyàn. James Best tí wọ́n wà tí wọ́n di machine mú lálágbàdo ń bẹ̀. Ọlọ́ládé Olúwatúnkèsí, Francis Ọ̀dẹ́bùnmi. Kí n dúpẹ́ lọ́wọ́ Dr. Ṣọlá Adébísí láti Abẹ́òkúta tí wọ́n bá wa ṣọ̀nà bí a ṣe rí Dr. Elemide Jedediah tí wọ́n darapọ̀ mọ́ wa. Ọ̀rọ̀ ká sì dúpẹ́ lọ́wọ́ Dr. Amosun too. Mi rò pé ó dáa pé gbogbo ẹ̀ náà láti ṣe. To everybody that have been part of this, thank you very, very much. If perchance miss anybody out, Mrs. Arike Adelodun, thank you very much for sharing your experience with us. God bless you. God will grant you total healing. And of course, surely you're going to find joy and happiness all the way. Thank you very much for anybody that's going through all of this, or something that is related to this. Mi fẹ́ pè ní koro, mi fẹ́ pè ní ìnira. Ọlọ́run ọba fún yín ní oore ọ̀fẹ́ àti àǹfààní láti ṣe àmúlò àwọn nǹkan èyí tí ẹ ti gbọ́ lónìí. Gbogbo nǹkan yóò sì padà bọ̀ sípò. Títí a máa fi ní oore ọ̀fẹ́ àti àǹfààní láti tún darapọ̀ mọ́ yín. Èmi ni ti yín ní tòótọ́, Olútáyọ̀ Ṣómìdé. Ṣẹ́gun Olúwayọ̀mí ń dúró láti fún yín ní orin ìsìn pẹ̀lú fèrè àti fọ́n. Tóyìn, ẹ connect mọ́ lọ́hùn. Till next time, bye, see you. Mwah.